What's up, synthesizers? Coyote Moon here, Chief Visibility Officer and founder of Synthesis Agency, back with the daily drop here in Cabo at the Summit Series. And this morning, we got to hear a talk from Gina Bianchini, who is the CEO and founder of Mighty Networks. If you don't know what Mighty Networks is, it is a community membership-based platform. You can sell courses and do all kinds of things. Here at Synthesis, we actually have some artists who use Mighty Networks to connect with their fan base and offer, different services and programs and courses and things. So naturally was very interested in checking out what she had to share about community, technology, and connection, and how technology really opens up a gateway and a portal for musicians and artists like you to connect more deeply with your fans. And it's really interesting because I think a lot of people in the industry think that the fan base equates to just virality and getting a big following and all of that. And that's actually completely false. A fan base is not built on a numerical number or your ability to go viral. And this is a huge misconception. Yes, you might get more eyes, but are you going to get real fans? Likely not, because fans are built on connection. The reason people love you, come to your shows, buy your music is because they have a deeper sense of connection to who you are. So we're going to dive in and talk a little bit about some different topics that came up around how we can leverage and use technology, especially technology like a Mighty Networks or community platforms or platforms that bring us together. So it could be a Mighty Networks, social media platforms like Instagram, Discord channels, Patreons, and all of these things. We're kind of going to house all of this together as these technological opportunities that sit right before us in our hands, in these devices that we're holding, that will enable you to really grow a solid and engaged fan base. So as I said, relationships are the core of a fan base. And this should be the thing that your dominant focus should be on when you're using your social platforms, when you're using other networking platforms. It should all be about creating these relationships with people. When we have relationships, we automatically are going to have more of a two-way street happening. And I think that's like one of the common things a lot of people feel with social media in general, or digital platforms in general, is just like you're speaking into the void, so to speak, and there's not really a lot of feedback. And there are ways, we're going to get into a few more in this video, but there are ways to create more of this two-way street, sort of a reciprocal energy. And that's what you want. You want to cultivate a reciprocal energy with your fan base, because this is how they stay connected, they stay engaged, and they stay in a dynamic relationship with you. And it's just a simple fact nowadays that fans don't really just want your music. Like, yeah, your music is a part of the puzzle, but your fans actually want to get to know you. And the artists that are seeing more success online beyond just sort of, the viral trending kind of thing, which is something that we really have to temper within ourselves, and as far as like consistently only striving for that, because I really believe, and I see on the back end, working with so many artists, that what really speaks to sustainability and longevity for an artist is fans who are so diehard, so engaged, and so invested in your artist journey and your process, and seeing themselves and feeling like they belong to that process. This is what cultivates this longevity, right? This sustainability. These people are going to be repeat coming back to your shows. They're going to be repeat on Spotify streaming your music, buying your music on Beatport, and all of these places. And so we have to think beyond the music. This is the time that we have to think beyond the music and think about who we are as an artist. Again, going back to that artist DNA and cultivating it, and knowing that this is the essence and this is what you need to pour through your channels in all the spaces and places, so people can like see you and feel you. If you're not being seen, you're not being heard, and you're going to hear me say it a million times on this channel. So how can you open up that door to create those real relationships with your fans? This is a very, very essential part. And we do this. And so this is kind of the next thing that, she really brought through and hit home in this talk was around storytelling. And just, well, first of all, it just really affirms the position that we have here at Synthesis that like the storytelling, the narrative thing is one of the most essential pieces. The video yesterday, if you tuned in on release strategies and storytelling, this is a part of it. So it's all linked together, as you can see, that this ability to tell your story, not just your overarching artist journey, but the story within all of the things that you create and the ability to bring people along that process, this is what creates real, deep, meaningful relationships with fans, with new potential fans and all of that. So when that becomes prioritized in content, prioritized in the messages that you send back and forth, the DMs, the comments, when it's not just a simple emoji, when it's not just, a like and that's it, when you're actually investing some time and energy to get to know people and to ask them and connect with them and go deeper with them, this is a huge opportunity, right? This is a technological opportunity that is sitting before us at any time to take advantage of and to utilize, and not just to get people to listen to your music, but the broader, bigger picture of community, which I think so much of EDM, the rave scene, all of that is really actually about. Like, this is what people crave when they come to these events. They come to these events, they come to see you play because something is going to happen in that space. An experience is going to happen in that space that is going to potentially change them or is going to create some sort of sensations of maybe it's ecstasy and bliss and joy and connection and being able to kind of forget about the day for a second or the state of the world and bring this other energy in that is then going to, right? You leave the dance floor and hopefully you're going to take that away. And so our opportunity in this spaces is to continue that work, is to continue that building of experiences. And the storytelling aspect of it allows us to create those experiences off the dance floor, allows us to actually, I think, even deepen those experiences because we get to articulate it directly to people. Other than like a sort of an interpretive thing that happens or a subjective thing that happens on a dance floor, you get to actually be the guide here. You're actually going to be the one who can set the tone and control the narrative around something and bring people on a journey with you. And that is incredibly powerful. If you are wanting to grow a fan base that is so engaged and so loyal and really like you guys are in it together, it's not about, hey, I'm the artist and here's my fans. Like, it's not like sometimes this hierarchy, right? We put artists on pedestals or, the music or the scene or something like that. I feel like this is the like equalizer, right? Where you get to say like, okay, cool, I've been working on XYZ track. Okay, so let's just use a track as an example. Like, you're working on a track and, most likely your music is inspired by something in your own life. Right? There's an element of something. It doesn't have to be some, profound thing even, it's just, there's some emotive thing or there's some intention behind it. And when you can allow people to witness that and see that, and they go, wow, like I'm going through that thing too. I mean, how many songs, tracks are written, like, let's just say in a breakup or something like that. Right? And it's like, that's the emotive driving force behind it. Like, what if you allowed people to hear that part of the story? What if you told that story in the captions that you create or maybe in a reel with text over it and it like walks people through like the feeling and the sensation of like creating through pain, creating through the emotion of something? I guarantee people will flip over this because everyone's gone through that. Everyone's gone through heartbreak. Everyone's experienced that. And so when you can take these elements of your artistry, of your music and the message within them and create these relatable transmissions, I like to call this like content, that's going to paint that picture and bring people with you on that journey. This is an incredibly powerful thing to optimize on your channels of all kinds. So your open channels like an Instagram or something like that, or a TikTok, and then maybe there's spaces using these more like membership community based platforms where it's like tighter, it's closer in, and these can be like exclusive pieces of content, exclusive looks into what you're doing. So just planting the seed again of like how important the storytelling piece is becoming, and how we have the technology to be able to tell those stories beyond just like the moment of our performance, beyond just the timeline that we're on the dance floor together. We have this opportunity to expand that timeline almost infinite, because another thing I don't think people think a lot about these platforms and the content that goes out, it's like it lives forever if you want it to, right? And someone can come scroll back 2-3 years in your artist journey and see where you are or were, and tap into a piece of music, and suddenly that piece of music that was 2 or 3 years old, and I've actually heard an artist talk about this at ADE, that their number one streaming piece of music this year was something that they actually published, it was like 7 or 8 years ago. And it's because there was this ability to like go back through and like follow this journey and this process. And they had piqued the interest in the now moment of where they're at, to encourage people to actually want to go deeper into their catalog, right? Essentially, I mean, that's what happened, right? This person or these fans are, diving back through the catalog because they're connecting with something in the now moment that's actually real. And that's why storytelling, even Gina Bianchini, right? This is like the founder, CEO of this huge platform that's based around creating community and engaged communities that are thoughtful and intentional. It's like, if you want to build engagement in these communities, well, you need to tell stories, and you need to share ideas, and you need to give people a place to have their own voice and their own agency to want to participate and to want to share their own ideas, or to just simply be able to see themselves and feel that sensation of belonging. So it's just such an incredibly powerful tool. The more that you work this piece around telling stories and go beyond, as I was saying earlier, just trying to be viral, right? Trying to, adopt another trend and have it blow up and blow your music up and get a bunch of, new followers. But as I said, and I will continue to say here, fans do not equal a follower count. That is just, it's false. And, eventually you're going to build, and maybe the number count is going to reflect that loyal fan base, but that's what you would want anyway, right? Rather than going viral off a trend that has no relation to you as an artist, to grow and build something, be in it for the long game, and use your ability to bring people on your journey and your process. This is going to have way more sustainability and longevity than anything else that you do. Another really amazing point that came through this talk this morning was around cultivating and building connection in communities based on the transitions people are going through. And this was really, really fascinating to me, because I started to think, okay, again, like when we have a dance floor experience, right? A lot of times we have a transformational experience, or a transition happens, or a shift will happen for us, conscious or subconscious. Maybe we don't even realize it. But I think that's why we gravitate towards the music and towards the dance floor, is because we crave these experiences that like open us to something else, right? Whether it's inside us or connections with the people around us. And to think about now, and so this is something that they're seeing overall in like a trend in terms of how communities are growing now. It's when we can engage people around a transition that is within their lives, because people are so much more willing to make an investment in something when there is a transition that they're navigating. So this is an interesting piece, and I think there's going to be some deeper exploration for us here at Synthesis to like really kind of understand this in terms of how it really relates to the artist-fan relationship. But what immediately came to mind, especially when we're talking about, let's say, putting music out there, or inviting people, let's say, to your shows and your events and things like that, even if you're like a promoter, right, and you're putting on events, I think this is very, very relevant, because you're trying to bring people together for an experience. And it's being able to like highlight these moments of transition, highlight these moments of transformation, and what will it take, or how can you guide someone to kind of transcend that? And it's very interesting to think about in terms of music and in terms of how do we talk to our fans and share the message of our music to kind of highlight these moments. So let's go back to this, earlier example of, a track, right? Based around, let's just say like heartbreak or something like that. And in a sense, if you're telling that story, right, of your own experience or like your own emotional journey through that as it relates to the music, right? You can be as literal or not as you want, but you can kind of guide people through this process. Well, essentially, you're highlighting a transition, right? If that's a huge transition in your life. And then is highlighting for someone else when they hear that story of like their own experience of that and their own memory, right? And that memory generates that felt sensation within us of like what it is to have heartbreak, and then what it is to move through that using creativity, using music, using, our powers that we have within ourselves to like, move through a journey in a way and heal and transform. So again, I think there's something really interesting here to explore as musicians and artists and how we connect with our fans in terms of the storytelling piece and how it relates to the deeper like theme that's within our music. And, I think this is a huge call out for the industry that, people aren't just gonna stream your music because it's good music. People aren't natural seekers, and this is something that I thought was interesting that she said, the majority of people aren't, and so we have to create the opportunities for someone to dive into something, right? We have to give like these openings. And when we tell stories and when we highlight moments in life and transitions and things like that, like I said, whether it's literal or not literal, whether it's through a direct storytelling or it's through a more emotive way or a visual way or something, when we're bringing people through an experience with us, through our content, through the way that we show up on our social channels and all of that, it's like we're creating that opportunity for them to jump in and say yes. Because ultimately, like that's what is how we're going to grow in the end, right? We can't force people to follow, be fans or whatever, or invest their time and energy. Like we as artists or creatives or on the marketing side of things have to create these experiences and these moments. Like these are moments of opportunity. And it's just, to me, it's just exactly the same thing you do when you cultivate a set for people. Like you are literally up there curating a moment and an experience for people to literally drop into. And your ability to master that is what moves you forward in your career ultimately, because you got all these people coming out of this experience telling other people, holy shit, this is what happened. This is what transcended basically on the dance floor. And so your platforms here, all these channels are your opportunity to create that experience for people. And that ability to connect on that level through something that is so much deeper than the music. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway from, this talk today. And also, weaving in these ideas of how do these concepts of community building really work for artists and their fan base. And it's just to understand that this goes so much further beyond the music. This is about you as the artist as well. And like the artist as a guide, like it's no different than cultivating your set when you're DJing, or for my promoters out there, curating an experience for people. This is huge. This is a big deal. When you take this on, to me, this isn't just like, yeah, man, we're going to throw a party, No, everything down to the last detail is about curating an experience for people. And so how are you going to do that in a way that actually brings them from a point A to point B? And I think when you can zoom out and start to see the impact of your creativity, the impact of your music from a much like bigger community perspective of what you're inserting into that collective field and what your opportunities that you're creating for people. And you can take it from that IRL, real life kind of thing, and build it and bridge it into your social channels, and you're able to convey that effectively, you're going to see real growth. You're going to see real fans. And that is something that, as the chief visibility officer, as the person who's kind of over here overseeing a lot of what's happening on all our artist platforms and what's going on, I always hear in my head, it's real fans, real growth, real music. Like, we're no bullshit here. We're not about chasing things over here. This is really about integrity of artistry, building communities from a place of integrity that are intentional, that have meaning, and that create experiences for people that are meaningful. And if I'm telling you, if you focus that kind of energy on cultivating your platforms and your online spaces, it's game changer. It's game changer. And I don't necessarily mean that you're going to get a bunch of followers, game changer. I mean game changer, people who are literally so invested in your music and so just like cheering you on and excited and wanting to share about themselves as well, and wanting to be in this space with you and grow with you and share with other people about who you are. Like, this is when the magic is going to happen for you. This is when you're going to start seeing something real and tangible building for yourself as an artist. So this is what we got for the daily drop today. I know there was a lot of juice in there to take away, but I think this is an area where a lot of artists are currently struggling, is to find a way to actually create these engaged fan bases. And we just have to remember that the technology that we have and our ability to market, our ability, and like, maybe we throw out the word marketing for this because I know that can sound dry and disconnected. That's not what I see marketing as, and that's not what we see it as at Synthesis, but it's this incredibly powerful opportunity and all of these tools that we have at our fingertips to create these opportunities and experiences and bring people on our journey. That is the game-changing thing in the industry right now. So I hope you got some really good gems from this one today. If you enjoyed it, please hit subscribe. Please share with another artist friend. We're doing daily drops of wisdom and tips, tools, and resources for all the DJs, promoters, label owners, and other creatives in the music industry who really want to grow from an intentional space, who really want to cultivate audiences, fan bases, events, communities that have real impact and real meaning for the future of not only this music, but for our lives, and just how incredibly impactful and beautiful these spaces are that we curate with each other through this music. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.